Hello, thanks for stopping by and welcome to the third and final video of making this Bicentennial costume pattern. It is Simplicity 6741. I so far have made a waistcoat, a pair of breeches, and a floofy lace front piratey style shirt, all of which came out very nicely. If you missed the videos where they were being made, there is a link to the playlist in the description below, so you can watch that after you finish this one. Let's move over to the sewing table so you can see where we are in the process of making this coat, and then we can move on with the construction. All of the pattern pieces have been cut out of the main and contrast fabric colors. They're all here in this semi-organized pile waiting to be assembled. I have the interfacing traced off here. I'm about to cut that out and apply it to the pieces that need to be interfaced. And then it will be time to begin the first stages of construction. So it's going to start with the front piece, which is this big honkin' one. It looks like there's going to be some fancy darts going on here. There's a weird piece chopped out of the side here, this squared off piece in the bottom that I'm peeking through right now. There is another piece that gets sewn onto that. This piece is getting sewn onto the whole of the front. Oof, this is the worst idea ever. You cannot see this. I'm just gonna lay it out and then bring you over here to watch it because you couldn't see that. 1 second. You've got the front piece here. You're making a dart right along there. Then you're adding this piece onto it, but it's going to be sort of like darted in somehow to add like additional shape, like so. It looks really weird. Haven't done that before. Then you got all this funkiness going on in the back. There's just a whole lot going on with this. And pretty much the entire thing is lined with the contrasting red fabric, so I've got to do it all twice. Oh no, I just ripped the paper. Ooh, pay no attention to that tear in the pattern. All right, let's get started. So that is the side seams finished, and you cannot see me because the light behind me. Let's turn around. There we go. So the front, basically the main shell of the jacket is finished. So you've got the front pieces here where there is this like center front dart, and then there's this like side panel that is attached on, and the pocket flap. There aren't actual pockets. This is a fake pocket. Shoulder seams are done, and I just top stitched these down with that decorative stitching. On the inside, I just serged it, pressed it to one side, and then you can see the decorative top stitching that is sort of holding it down. The center back seam was made, and it is open at the bottom, which will attach to the lining. When that's done, let's bring it to the inside where you can sort of see the construction a little bit better. I will warn you that it gets kind of messy. So here's the side seam that I just finished. It hasn't been pressed yet. One long side seam, and I serged the edge off. This is where the side panel was attached. So there's a seam here, and it squares over here to the side seam. And then this is where I top stitched down the pocket flap. The shape took really well, so now it's time to attach the collar and then repeat this construction process with the contrasting fabric. And this contrasting fabric will become the lining of this. And after the lining is attached, it will just be the decorative finishes. I've done quite a lot of sewing on this jacket, and I am almost finished with it. I have not been enjoying the process, but I have been continuing and just sort of hate sewing the entire time. I'm so done with it. but I want to get it finished. So let me show you what I've done. I added in the collar, which consists of the main collar and a collar stand. You can see the collar stand is a different color. I had to use fabric that didn't get re-dyed because I messed up the original collar stand. Because the way this collar stand is, you have to sew the collar piece into the collar stand. And I didn't do that the first time, so I had to go back. So now it's collar stand here with the collar piece sewn into it. And then I attached the collar on, and there I goofed up quite a bit because this seam here, you can kind of see it. This seam where the collar is attached onto the main jacket part, I originally top stitched that down with decorative stitching. And then when I went to go put in the lining, I realized that the lining is actually attached to that seam. So it needed to be pressed like upward so I could sew the lining onto it. And when I flipped everything, it would all get hidden. So I had to go through and pick out that decorative stitching, which was something I never want to do again because it is a sort of a reverse stitch. That's what I really like about that 70s Kenmore is it has like the reverse stitches where it will go forward one and then like back one and then like forward and back. So it can do like those cool decorative stitches by moving the piece back and forth as it goes through. But that just makes it really hard to unpick because I don't know, it's like every single stitch is like triple back stitched basically. So I attached the collar and I moved on. I top stitched it down at that point. I hadn't realized my mistake yet. Then I did the lapels or the like facing sort of things here, which are basically the same process as the collar. You just sewed the two pieces together, right sides together, and then flip them and then attach them onto the body of the coat. And then I constructed the lining the same way I did with the front and back pieces, and then stitched everything together and flipped it. The instructions didn't give really clear directions for this part of where the back flap gets attached, and I kind of goofed it up. If you can see, it's kind of a little bit wonky. I feel like some just tactful pulling on it and top stitching it down can smooth over this weird little extra lump I got. Let me put this on so we can see how it looks. I need to go through and give this a good press still. It shows all of the symptoms of not having been ironed, pressed properly. I also ended up with way more fabric than I thought I needed. So I guess these Big Four patterns, they often overestimate how much fabric you need or tell you too much. And I usually just stick with what they say because sometimes I make mistakes and I want to cut another piece of fabric. And I'm not using super expensive fabrics. So if I was using something super expensive, I would definitely be more parsimonious with it. Anywho, it is now time for me to attach the sleeves. So I've made the sleeves. These are two-piece sleeves that get set in. I might try setting them by hand. Depends on how lazy I get. I don't know. So I've got the sleeves made and I'm working on the cuffs. So I just sewed the two cuff pieces, the main and the contrasting cuff pieces separately. Now I am stitching them together. Like I've got them pinned on one edge, so they're gonna get stitched together on this edge and then flipped out and attached to this edge of the sleeve, the cuff, and then flipped to the outside so the contrasting fabric will show up on the wrist. So I'm going to move on, get these cuffs finished, attach the sleeves, get the sleeves set in, and finish this thing up. The construction of the jacket is now finished. Not necessarily very well. There are definitely parts where I rushed through it and it shows. One of these sleeves, is it this one? One of these sleeves is definitely in kind of wonky. I really ought to rip it out and set it in correctly. Always struggle with set in sleeves. Even the one that's like kind of correct still isn't great. I have some issues like in this area. It didn't turn well, so it doesn't really fit as crisply as it should. The back split, like I think I mentioned before, just kind of doesn't work. I've got done what I'm going to get done with it. It would now be time to do the finishing details, which would be the like shoulder tabs and then like the decorative buttons and button holes down here. But I don't have the energy to do it right now. I don't have the motivation to finish this jacket the way it needs to be finished. I was very upset about the color, my sort of failed dye job. It doesn't look as bad all finished as I thought it would. I'm fairly happy with it. I definitely like the shape of this coat, although it definitely needs some tweaking as far as fit goes. So ignore my bare legs and feet and socks. I didn't really have any shoes or stockings that would be correct for this costume. I'm just going without for now. If I really wanted to finish this, I would get like the tricorn hat and like white leg stockings and some shoes that could, fit in. Fit issues, like I said, the sleeves are kind of wonky because I didn't set them in very well. I have this sort of pulling through here, which is an issue I get with a lot of clothing, especially like military clothing, because I just don't have the like super strong V. So I would have to go in and fix the fit a lot to sort of compensate for my shoulders not being like beefy and broad like a super macho guy. And that affects the back too. There's a little bit of extra bulge like I mentioned before. So I would really need to go in and first of all make the darting correctly, and second of all just take a little bit of extra space from the seam, just redraw that back seam so it curves a little bit tighter. It doesn't give me as much space back there. But in general, I'm pretty happy with the length of it. I like the way it tapers in at the waist. It fits pretty well for just a costume, no modifications made to the fit, and considering I rushed through the construction of it. The shirt, waistcoat, and breeches are still my favorite part of this project, and I am setting aside this jacket for now. I might come back to it to try to fix it in the future or recreate it more accurately. I think with a actual like blue and red wool and some like care to it, I could really make it nice. Considering the fit issues I had with this, go back and make another mock-up to try to fix those a little bit and then come back with nice fabric. But I don't really have a specific purpose for wearing this right now. So if I ever did, then I would definitely have a good start for getting a nice costume made. My next project will be making a D&D cosplay outfit for my brother using this photo as an inspiration. I'm hopeful that will be much easier to get through. If you have liked this video, please give it a like, and if you have not already, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future.